So have a seat, Paul. It would be good to talk about the whole issue of recording clients and what that might mean in therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, happy to do that.
Tell me a little bit about your experience as a trainee, first of all, because I know that making recordings sounds as if it was an essential part of your training.
It was. Again, it was many years ago, Angela. It was probably about 35 years ago, and I was supervised by a psychoanalyst and a psychodynamic psychotherapist in one of my settings for a year. And nearly all of our sessions were audio recorded.
Right. And how did you find that experience? Was it easy to do, difficult to do?
Well, initially I was very nervous as a trainee, sitting in a room with a client and recording. I was probably more nervous than the client, but the clients didn't seem to mind at all. We signed a consent, and they asked a few questions about it, but it was very helpful, really, in supervision, because we could really hone in on very specific areas that either I had questions about or my supervisor had questions about. And I felt that it really intensified the supervision and really got a tremendous amount from it.
So it sounds like it made it a richer experience for you in a way, and that it enabled a closer kind of supervision.
Yes, I would say it was definitely a very rich experience. And I learned a tremendous amount from it. Hearing myself, being able to reflect on that, thinking a bit more deeply than just doing process notes, for example, which were also very helpful, but it was quite a benefit. So
it put you very much in the process rather than just looking aside from the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in some ways, because it started, I've been supervised by other models, but with the psychodynamic model, it felt, for me, it was a little bit hard to get my head around it, to understand it, to how theory relates to actual practice with a client. And I was a second-year student, postgraduate student, so I didn't have a great deal of experience yet with clients. And it was a very helpful tool and the supervisors, they required it, so it was part of their practice.
That's interesting, because that there are often concerns raised by more psychodynamically oriented people as to how a process like this might affect transference. Do you have a view on that at all?
Well, I'll speak as a supervisor. Although I'm not supervising at the moment, I have supervised for a number of years, and always asked trainees, particularly trainees that were either newly experienced or trainees that were doing longer-term work, that they would audio record. And I don't think, frankly, audio recording, my experience is that it doesn't interfere with the transference. And my data for that is, if you will, trainees and other people that I have supervised that haven't used audio recording and those that have. And I've noticed no difference at all in the client's responses, how well they've done in therapy. I think it doesn't affect the transference any more than the color of your room might, which it may have some effect, or the paintings that you have on the wall, or the type of lighting that you have. But that's all part of the experience. It's not a laboratory. It's a dynamic, interactive psychotherapeutic process, and I think the audio recording, and I would also say video recording, but audio recording hasn't been a problem. And the video recording wasn't either. I wanted to add that I've also, as a trainee and as a supervisor, have asked people that I supervise to video record. And again, after getting consent, explaining to the client why we're doing it, I haven't noticed that a problem at all.
It's interesting what you're saying, because it seems, that sometimes people think about transference as something that's fixed in time, and that it's not really affected by the things that are brought into the room and so on. So those are interesting notions that you're coming up with. Is there anything else you'd like to say about process and how recording can affect it, or anything like that?
As a supervisor, it allowed me to have more confidence in what was happening in the room with the client and the trainee. And I wanted to feel that I could rely not only on what the trainee was reporting, the postgraduate student reporting, but also to hear what the client was experiencing as much as one can without me interviewing the client. So by being able to hear the client's words, their reactions, or in videotape, really noticing the client's physical response as well as their verbal response, allowed me to get a much better understanding of what was happening in that experience, in that therapeutic experience with a trainee, and I think provide better supervision. In fact, now when I'm supervising someone and I don't have audio or visual recording, I feel somewhat a bit at a loss.
It does enable one to think backwards in a way, doesn't it, whereby you can actually go back on your work and think about it in a new sort of way, which wouldn't exist, say, just in a paper report, as in the PPRs that we do, which do obviously have their place, but this is a kind of different assessment, a different examination, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It does allow one to go back, and I think training clinicians, it gives us more information about someone's developing skills, and I think that benefits the supervisor, it benefits the trainee and the course, really, and the profession. I think it strengthens clinical psychology.
Well, thank you, Paul. That's been very helpful. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks very much.